Today we're going to take an introductory look at some measuring tools from Banggood.com. This small chunky triangle, this saddle square, and this much larger square. Full disclosure, these tools were provided to me at no charge by Banggood.com, but they're not paying me for the video. They have no editorial control over the content of the video. They don't even see the video before I release it. They just seem to care that I make a video and tell you about them. So before we get started, links to all the items that I'm going to talk about can be found in the video description down below. So go down there if you want to find out any more details about these. There might even be some time-limited coupon codes or discount codes to be found there also, so pull down the video description. And I know a lot of people want to know about price, so I will mention the prices. This is as of about late June in 2021. You know, just be aware that these things can change, and I'm just going to round to the nearest dollar. So this is how they get delivered in this orange Banggood bag. Just dropped at your front door, contactless pickup. 3 boxes. These are individually packed in these cardboard box. This one comes packed in foam, and this one is also fitted in an individual cardboard box. So back in January of this year, I put out a video where I first took a look at some measuring tools from Banggood, and one of them was this red aluminum triangle. I quite like how chunky it is, that it can stand up, and since then I've used it a number of times. So I thought I would get the smaller version of the triangle as a partner to go with it because sometimes this is still bigger than I want, and this is a nice size that you could pop it into your pocket, or I might just end up leaving it on the table saw on the fence and using it for checking heights, things like that. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. This is listed on the website as the Drill Pro 90-degree aluminum alloy height ruler, and it lists for about $12 American or $15 Canadian. And no, it's not red, and this bugs me more than it should. You know, here's the large one. They're sold from the same web page. Large, small, this one is silver, this one is red. And I know it's silly. It doesn't affect how it works. I just wish they had picked a color and used that for all their tools. You know, red, blue, gold, green, whatever. And this is basically a shrunk down version of the big one. They're practically identical in every way. The large one has got metric on one side and imperial on the other. The little one has metric on one side and imperial on the other. You know, it even has the same 3-hole layout. However, the red one, the large red one, has white paint in all the markings, whereas the silver one, the numbers are painted white, but the markings are merely, I don't know if you can hear that, I'm just rubbing my fingernail. They are etched in, there's no paint or anything. On the large red one, these are also etched in, but there's white paint or something for contrast. So I mentioned metric. You got metric on one side, imperial on the other, so you always have to turn it one way because the back side is smooth, and the large one, I don't know if I mentioned this back in January, but there's nothing on the back. All the markings are only on the one side. And that can be annoying if you reach it and you grab it and plunk it down, and it's like, oh, I've got it on the metric side. I got to turn it over. Just so you know, it is 9/16. I'm betting it's measured metric. Let's see. It is 15 millimeters thick. I'm betting this is 15 millimeters, and that's how they measure it, not the 9/16, but just so you know, that's how it is. Here's my little 2-inch machinist square that I got from Lee Valley years ago. You can just use that for gauging, and it is sufficiently square. Interesting, the small one is a little bit thinner. The thick red one, it's about, let's say, 1 millimeter thicker. It is a lot smaller than the big one. So again, I'm not sure if I will use this on the table saw or just keep it as a little pocket square, but nice compact size. Next up is this small saddle square. At least, I'm going to call it a saddle square. On their website, Banggood lists this as the TS2 hole positioning inch measuring ruler, and it lists for $16 American or 21 Canadian. Now back in January, I got this TS6, and this is a TS2. They have a TS3, which is a 3-inch version. This is the 6-inch version. But it's interesting how the TS2 is completely shaped differently, but they have the same naming scheme. But they are similar in that you have the hole here, and you really need a mechanical pencil for this. I've tried it with a regular pencil, and you can make it work if it's perfectly sharp. So you take your piece of wood and you will put your pencil through the mark that you want, and you slide it along back and forth, and there we have a mark, which we can verify is a 1/2 inch in from the side. I think I'll use this a lot also like this, where you will bring a mark and you will turn it the corner with it. That's why I think a saddle square is maybe a better term. Taking my machinist square, and this is sufficiently square and the sides are nice and flat. I can put it on the table and there is no rocking, so it's nice and straight that way. Next up is this much larger square. Banggood lists this on their website as the aluminum alloy 200mm precision woodworking square inch and metric machinist square. And it lists for 20 bucks American or $25 Canadian roughly. Like the other one, there is metric on one side and it goes up to 200mm here on the outside. And on the other side, it is in inches and it goes up to 8 inches, or from the inside is just about 7 inches. I know people are going to want to talk about woodpecker, especially with the 851 number. There's an 851 square on the woodpecker website. It's not fair for me to say anything really because I've never owned a woodpecker tool, and they look different to me, but really, I mean, this is a $20 square and the woodpecker one is a lot more. It's in a completely different class. So I've got this old Stanley square that I inherited from my dad years ago. Probably a lot of people have something similar where it's got the thicker bottom, but the difference is that this one, it can flop about when you're trying to hold it at the edge, whereas this square has this little shelf. So when you put it up against the edge of the board, it locks in there, which keeps it, which from what I've heard is really nice for measuring. And the other big difference is that the scale zeroes out on the inside and on the outside. So when you're sitting here, this goes from 0 and that should be 3 inches, for instance, whereas what always bugged me about this is that this square only zeroed out to the outside and it had the same markings here. So here, 0 is somewhere around the 2 3/8 mark. So I never use this for measuring. I just use it for drawing lines. This one, there's the option to use it for measuring because it does 0 out here. They've got a notch there so you can get your pencil in without hitting it. I'm not 100% clear. It looks like it's milled out of just one solid piece of aluminum, but there kind of looks like I can almost see some lines here. So, I mean, it is possible that this is 3 pieces of aluminum glued or welded together somehow. I don't know. It's just a square. I'm not going to get that worked up about it. Again though, imperial on one side, metric on the other. So to use this square, I'm going to have to always hold it like that if I'm measuring, because on this side it's centimeters. I'll take my old square and check it, and it appears to be square. Let's take another square, and again, this appears to be square. And now the pencil test, I've got a freshly sharpened pencil, and I'm going to lock this up, draw a line, and then flip it over and push it up against. And it's tricky to do this because the camera's in the way. And there we've got these 2 lines which appear nice and parallel. How does that saying go? If it looks straight, it is straight. I'm a woodworker. I'm happy with 1/16 of an inch of accuracy. I'm not a machinist where I need to work in thousandths. One thing with this square, compare it to this one. Yeah, these numbers are not painted. They're etched in. They're accurately etched in. I can read them. Would have been nice if they'd been painted. So as mentioned, I did a video back in January where I also took a look at some tools, and out of those tools, the triangle and the square are the ones that I use the most, followed by this TS6. And in part, I'm just not used to using a mechanical pencil in my shop. And so for the TS6 and now the TS2, it's really, the onus is on me to basically break that habit. And I now keep a mechanical pencil in my shop, so I have the ability to use these with a mechanical pencil, because really the mechanical pencil is really necessary for these holes because they are so small. Keep that in mind if you're interested in this one or this one from the previous video. It's really best if you work with a mechanical pencil. Now, in terms of just bringing the line around the edge, you can use any pencil you want for that. And as for these other items, really, in a sense, these three are all a form of a square. They're all basically a solid chunk of aluminum that's been milled. If they're accurate when you get it, it's going to stay accurate unless, again, you bang them on the ground or step on them or something, which is not likely. These do not have moving parts. There's nothing that will fall out of adjustment. And yeah, I like the red color. So when it comes to Banggood.com, the challenge for me as a North American is the whole metric thing. I had to look hard through their catalog to find more tools that had inch measurements on them. And yeah, most of them are dual. So you've got metric on one side and inch on the other. Only a few of them were strictly imperial measurements. And I admit, North America, we're behind. We are the minority. The rest of the world is metric. And I know Canada is officially on the metric system. We're a bit weird here. I use metric for driving, for distance, for temperature. But here in the wood shop, I still use inches and feet, and almost everybody else I know does that. You go to the lumber yard, you'll still buy lumber in 2x4s and 2x6s and that sort of thing. So to sum up, I think these tools were, moderately priced and reasonably accurate. I mean, none of the tools that I tested had moving parts. They're just chunks of aluminum, so they're not going to fall out of alignment. You do need to be prepared to wait for shipping because it can take a few weeks to get here. But yeah, if you're in North America, let me know what you like from Banggood and what you don't like from Banggood. And I think that's it for this one. If you feel I've earned it, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.